Yo, welcome back to the Wrestling Strength Podcast. I am your host, Coach Myers. And as always, the Wrestling Strength Podcast is brought to you by Max Effort Muscle. Make sure to go maxeffortmuscle.com for all your supplement needs and check out the I Want Abs contest. Find out how you can win a Mercedes-Benz, a Rolex, 10K in crypto. We're doing a crazy giveaway this winter. You're going to want to be a part of it. Make sure you check that out at maxeffortmuscle.com. All right. I've had a good string of guests on the show. But I feel like they've really just been warm-ups, for who I got on here today. Now, this is a guy I've known for a long time, and, people throw around terms a lot, like the GOAT. Everyone's the GOAT. People comment on my workout videos, say, Coach Myers, you're the GOAT. I'm like, I'm not even that good at what I'm doing. How am I the GOAT, But this guy can stake a legitimate claim to being the GOAT. As Coach Ryan likes to say, more men have walked on the moon than have won 4 NCAA titles. We got my man, Logan Stieber. What's up, Logan?
What's up, Dustin?
Hey, man. I'm glad to finally have you out here at the new HQ.
Yeah, it's nice, man. It's a great place. You may have overhyped my my stats a little bit, but no, this is cool, man. It's a good place.
Well, I know anyone that's listening today is going to be really interested in everything you have to say, and I got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. But I think we should probably start with what's current. We should start with OSU. Yeah. Now, this is obviously your first year, like officially on staff, not just running the RTC and run your club and stuff. So maybe let's start with that. Talk a little bit about your, I'm sure it was a seamless transition. We kind of talk about that transition to, full-time coach with the university and what we got going on with the team dynamics and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, just, I was the RTC coach for a few years, and, we had a good full staff, with Tom, Jay, Tervel, and Bo. Tervel took a job back in Nebraska, back where his wife's family is from, and it made sense for me to move right in to the next spot. So pretty, like you said, seamless transition, and now I still kind of double duty, the Ohio State coach as well as RTC, but it's good, man. It's fun. It's the people on staff are great. Tom, Jay, and Bo. It's just a good time, and Coach Ralph, and so we really enjoy each other, and we work hard, and it's fun. Buckeyes are doing pretty well, and we're excited for the second half of the season here.
Yeah. Well, when you think about the coaching staff, in college sports in general, there's always a lot of turnover. Mm-hmm. But you look at the nucleus of that team right there. You got Tom, who was obviously recruited you, brought you in. Jay, who was recruited by Tom, and then Jay, who was your coach, mm-hmm. your main coach when you got there. You and Bo were teammates that entire time. Obviously, Ralph and Jay grew up together. They're, both from Chanel. So you have a really tight-knit group of guys. And I think anytime you have a group that's tight, that knows each other that well, there's a lot less like explaining you have to do. You don't have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
They understand Logan. They know where Logan's coming from. There's I think a lot less room for misunderstandings and miscommunications when you really know each other as people as well as you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, we feel pretty comfortable with each other, and we're all really good friends, and so yeah, it's good. I don't really know too much about other staffs, and I've only heard a little bit from some friends and my brother who's a college coach as well, but I really feel like our staff dynamic is really good. We work well together, and like I said, and like you were saying, we know each other very well.
Now, let's talk about the team a little bit. So a lot of fresh faces on the team. I think that, over the last couple of years, Miles Martin, Colin Moore, Luke Pletcher, some of these guys that were mainstays for a long time, obviously, their time is up. So you got some other guys, obviously Caleb's been around for a long time. Ethan's been around for a long time. But you have a lot of new faces, not just in the starting lineup, but in the room in general. I went to the dual meet last week or two against Pitt, mm-hmm. and I saw the team sitting over there. I go over to talk to a couple guys. I'm like, I don't even know half these guys,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of been out of the loop. Now the RTC guys come out here to train with me versus me being down at the Jennings, so I'm not around as much. But I was just like, wow, like time just keeps marching on. You have all these new faces, and who do you think is someone maybe on the team that the average fan might not be familiar with yet, but whether it's next year, 2 years, 3 years from now, they're really gonna make a mark on the Ohio State program? I'm putting you on the hot seat already.
Yeah, no, on the hot seat. I mean, we have a lot of good guys, young guys. Some of our, Andre Gonzalez, he's a freshman out of California.
At 33, right?
Yep. So he's very tough. Patty Gallagher, freshman out of St. Ed's, very tough. I think we have we have a bunch of 157 pounders who are I think, are good wrestlers who maybe need to get a little bit better in an area or two and can make a big jump. We have obviously Carson and Sammy, and those guys are still young as far as eligibility goes. With the COVID year. So yeah, we have.
It's funny to think how young Sammy is, but it's already kind of like you think of him as like a proven commodity.
Yeah.
Obviously with him being a finalist and obviously with all the hype he had coming in, but you think about really eligibility wise, he got
3 more years.
He got 3 more years. Yeah.
So this is his 4th year. He's got, he'll wrestle 6 years with us. So the COVID year, obviously makes things crazy. So as far as keeping Sammy for longer, then that works well for us.
Yeah, there were some downsides to it, obviously, but like this being an upside, you'll take that any day, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. We'd love to have Luke and Collins, another year with those guys and for the Buckeyes, but life goes on and you learn from it, and
yeah, you
keep going.
You got to play the hand you're dealt, right? I mean, obviously, the unfairness of that situation, particularly with that class. But you can't really dwell on it.
Yeah,
what can you do?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's no correcting it now.
Yeah. So is what it
Trust
is.
me,
We'll move on.
I'm still salty about it, but So let's see. So you talked about those guys. Now, let me ask you this. You talked about the 57 pounders. You got some guys that are good wrestlers. You think they need to refine some things a little bit. How do you, as a coach, deal with all right, you got kids coming in that they're used to being the best kid in the room. They're state champs, whatever. But you can already see hey, if they're ever going to be a starter here or ever going to be elite, we got to fix this or we got to fix that. How do you go about doing that when it's someone that they've been doing that their whole life and it's already helped them be successful, but it's only being successful at the high school level and in the Big Ten is 2 different things, way miles and miles apart. So how do you kind of approach as a coach to say, hey, okay, this might have been something that helped you be good before, but this is why we're going to change it and help you be great at this level?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with trust, and it's an interesting kind of world, interesting kind of transition. But it starts with trust, and it really needs to start with them trusting us. That's why they came to the school, right? And they gotta trust us, and they gotta okay, what we're saying, they have to believe that it's gonna help them. And if obviously we're not foolproof, but we're doing everything in our mind, everything in our power to help them. So if they can trust that, then they can learn. They can be coachable. If it's the opposite where they are making they want to see success and then the trust comes, that becomes tough.
Right.
Because then it's I'm trying to coach you and you're doing whatever you want. You don't believe me. You're not going to believe me until you win. And then what if you don't win?
They need to buy in first, basically.
Yeah, and then obviously we got to do a good job early on with them, but a lot of that work is done on the recruiting. So the goal is that when they come in, it's okay, let's listen to what Jay has to say. He's been here for 14 years and he coached everybody. Listen what Tom has to say. Listen what Bo and what I have to say. And obviously, the Buckeyes have had a lot of success, so. It's not let's believe in this and let's hope that it works. It's been pretty proven. We've had. You're
not really guessing that much at this point.
Yeah, we have had a lot of guys with good success, and we have the way that we do things. We believe that it's the best way or the way it's going to work, and it has worked. So I think it starts with trust, and if they can say, okay, let's learn. We have a lot of guys that are just awesome at that. They're all right, what do you need me to do? And it's tough, it's tough. But once you get it, once you okay, I trust these guys and I'm going to do whatever they say, whatever it is, then you can really, really get your learning and get, better at wrestling and what you're trying to do.
That's what we call gut check wisdom right there, Kyle. I love it, man. It is really important that the athlete has to trust you coming in, and it's kind of one of those things where if they don't trust you coming in, they probably shouldn't have came to wrestle for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're not going to trust the staff, you're not going to trust that you guys are going to try to put them in the best position to be successful, then they should have found someone that they could trust like that.
Yeah, because if not, because then it becomes almost like an interview process.
Right.
Like, and then I'm thinking, well, I hope this works, because if not, he's not gonna like it, or he's gonna be upset, or, it's like, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's a good combination of it's. They believe that I'm doing everything in my power to help them. I believe that they're listening and they're working hard, and we'll go to battle, and obviously you're gonna win or you're gonna lose, and whatever the result is, that you're happy with, at least you're happy with the work that was done, and you trusted it. Sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you do everything right, but it's just I don't know. Other guys better, gets lucky, or whatever the case may be.
It can just be the way the ball bounces sometimes.
Right. Yeah. So, we have a good group of guys that believe in what we're doing, and I'm excited for them.
Now, real quick, and this is off topic, but you just kind of reminded me of something. And I always use this as an example when I talk about, great wrestling matches I've seen or whatever, is one of my favorite wrestling matches I watched of yours was actually one that you lost out of the Open one year against Kellen Russell, because it was just a firefight. You guys were just slinging, going for it. I think he ended up exposing you towards the end, and he ended up winning a tight match or whatever. But I always use it as an example when I talk to my young guys about wrestling free out there and really just trying to score points. Because I was like, here's two really high-level guys not trying to protect anything, just battling, going on. Unfortunately, you were on the short end of the stick in that match. You probably remember the match, right?
Yeah, I think it was for third and fourth. I think I lost every position. I think I got teched. But he beat me earlier in the tournament, close. And then I remember the third and fourth place match, I was like, all right, I'm just wrestling. And
well, I must remember it being a closer score than that. But
well, maybe you remember the first match that was a closer score, and then you remember watching the second match.
Maybe I'm confusing the two.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where I was close to winning a lot of those positions, but he just won them all. And it was third and fourth. So at that point, there isn't a huge jump in my, not happiness. I would like to get third. But
the pressure is not there.
Yeah,
third and fourth is not going to be that different for you.
It didn't really make a difference for me. It kind of is what it was. So, yeah, kind of wrestled free, and I think I probably liked the way I wrestled. I just lost some positions.
It was an exciting match to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you said, those positions that you lost, I mean, it might have been you got exposed here or there on a shot. It wasn't like you were, getting put on your back or anything crazy where you would watch, like someone who doesn't really understand freestyle scoring would watch and probably not even know who the winner was.
Yeah.
It was just a crazy, exciting match, But anyway, yeah, that was just something that I kind of thought of for whatever reason. Let's change gears a little bit. I want to talk about, kind of your training growing up. Obviously most people are going to be familiar with your story. In high school, you went 170 something and one or whatever, 4-time state champ. You won everything. Your brother, same thing, 4-time state champ. You guys both come to Ohio State, with you being, 4-time Big Ten and 4-time NCAA champ. I think Hunter would have been a 4-time All-American if it wouldn't have been for the injuries and stuff that kind of bit him late in his career. So you see two brothers from a small town, tremendous success. Obviously, the coaches, the parents, all that plays a big role. Let's talk maybe a little bit about what type of dad/coach your dad was. And all this, we got two boys that are really good at it. How hard did he push you guys? Like, what was kind of his overall style with you?
Yeah, so he pushed us very hard, very, 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 very tough.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to say like, oh yeah, he just let us go to wrestling whenever we wanted.
Yeah, so he pushed us hard, and him and my mom sacrificed a lot. We went on vacation when we were maybe like, 5 or 6 years old, and then we went on vacation when we were in junior high. I think my dad's boss probably paid for most of the vacation, so we didn't really do any vacations. We went to wrestling tournaments and wrestling camps, and my parents drove us up to LaGrange, Keystone, kind of Cleveland area, about 45 minutes away, 3 or 4 times a week for practice with the Burnett's, and it was tough and it was intense, and then we would do other practices closer to home with a very small group of studs. Everyone was a couple times state champion, junior high state champion, all that stuff. And so yeah, it was tough. I mean, we did a lot of hard things. We would do push-ups during commercials. Jack probably doesn't even know what a commercial is. But we would, in between we watch TV, we'd be doing push-ups and stuff, and we'd do probably 1,000 push-ups a day for 5 days a week, 3 to 5 days a week. So we were doing a lot of stuff like that. And then even as we got into junior high and high school, in the spring and summer, we would have our football buddies come over, and we would do stuff in our yard, like box jumps and weight pulls and sled pulls, and we'd go over to my grandpa's house and do sprints on their hill and stuff, and we did a lot of.
So it was really a culture of training in your house, not just him taking you to Burnett's,
yeah,
but the fact that you guys would come over and run hills at your house, your grandma's and stuff.
Yeah,
it was really just part of the culture.
Yeah, we always working out, and if we weren't wrestling, it was like, okay, well, we'd run down the end of the road and back was a mile each way. Around the block was 2.5, or bigger block 3.5. So yeah, we were very active, and we were always.
Now, did you guys both take to it right away, or was it more like you took to it and Hunter kind of followed you because he's the younger brother? Or?
Well, Hunter always followed me. He actually took like a year off or half a year off one year, but he was really good always. We were both had a lot of success right away. So he kind of always followed, but we were both in it, and he was always as good as I was, and yeah, we trained a lot, and competed a lot, and it was interesting because my mom's like the sweetest, nicest person of all time.
That's a fact.
So
I can fact check that.
So
she's the sweetest woman ever.
But like my parents, so my mom would never say no anyways, but my dad never said no to anything. We could do whatever we wanted, It was just, so it wasn't like, from an outside point of view, I remember when I had, friends or girlfriends, they'd always be like a little intimidated by my dad, but it was like, these guys, they let us do whatever we wanted to do. We could make choices, make decisions, and obviously if it was something that was just like, hey, we want to be out all night, but I would be home by midnight. But
do you think it was more of a thing of like, he felt like, okay, you've put in the work and you've earned some freedom now, so hey, yeah, you want to go to Cedar Point with your friends, go do it. Who cares? Like, he let you have a balance, so it wasn't just, even though there was a lot of training and a lot of competing, it wasn't all that.
Yeah, I think he knew, because of, he could tell by all the work and we do, it was and we did, we had a lot of chores around the house, so, we did all that stuff. And so it was kind of like, yeah, I mean, they do everything right. They want to, he trusted us to, do whatever we wanted.
Yeah, I think, me and my wife always have talks about stuff like it's about chores and things that should be done around the house. And kind of my stance, as a parent, I think as a kid, you shouldn't enjoy everything that you do. You shouldn't always feel like, oh, I'm doing this because it's fun. Some things are just like, you do it because you have to do it. When I was a kid, I had to take out the garbage. I did it because I had to do it. I had to shovel horse shit out of the stalls because it was what I had to do, So I think that, not call my wife out or anything, but I think just parents, I will just say parents in general, they want their kids to always be comfortable and always be happy. And I think as a kid, it's not really necessary. I'm not saying you should be mean to your kids. I'm very, loving to my children, but I don't feel bad if they're not extremely happy and joyful every second of the day, and that they have to do some things that they'd rather not do, because I think that's just part of growing up, is you're going to be bored sometimes. You're not always going to be entertained, and you're going to do things that you might not necessarily want to do. And the reward for that is, okay, yeah, you did your chores. Now you get to go hang with your friends, or you can play video games or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think struggle is important. I was actually just randomly having this conversation with my wife the other day. And obviously, if you're born into, a $1 billion family, then you're not going to have any struggle probably. But you will, but people won't see the struggle. You'll just, you just live your life.
There'll be different types of struggles.
But it's like, most successful people, there's some struggles in their life, and it doesn't have to be a life-changing struggle, but there's struggle in life, and if you most pretty successful people who are very happy with their lives, doesn't have to be super successful, just people that are very happy, that there's a level of struggle, and I'm not sure how the parenting world works yet, but I would imagine at one point I'll learn.
Well, you'll learn, and it's a constant pull. I'll tell you that. I mean, I have pretty much the same conversation with all my buddies. It's usually a somewhat of a struggle between mom and dad, because moms, their instinct, they want their kids to be comfortable. They want them to feel love and feel happiness at all times. And I want that for them too, but I also feel like they have to earn it in some respects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to me, the gym and the training is a big part of that. I mean, my kids are growing up in a house, nicer than I could have ever imagined at their age. They have nicer things than we ever had. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I want, Jack still has to come here and work out at old school so he can still kind of feel the grit and the grime. He still has to stack firewood with me. He still has to do these things that I think a lot of people, once they reach a certain degree of success, it's taken out of their children's lives because they don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's even things, certain times, like if I'm stacking firewood, I mean, really, I could probably come over and take it directly out of the wheelbarrow right onto the stack, but I'll bring it over and like dump it 10 feet away. So he has to, just little things. So he has to carry it over and stack it, just make it a little bit harder for him without him knowing, know?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's good to have some struggle in life. That's for sure.
So let's talk about Stieber Elite. Let's talk about the youth program a little bit.
Yeah. So once I took over, the coaching job at Ohio State, I had to kind of relinquish pretty much all of the duties. I
know there's some kids in Central Ohio really sad because I trained some of them, and they've made comments about how sad they are that Logan's not there anymore.
I know, I miss those guys. They, the club is interesting because it's like it's pretty tough, and it's you can really help a lot because these kids are so young. Mm-hmm. But sometimes these kids don't listen, or they're just, you have a couple kids who are just doing awesome, and then other kids are running around, and you just want to throw them out of the room. So
you have some there probably that like they're there because the dad's making them be there type of thing.
Yeah. But so I definitely miss working with those guys. But like I said, so Colin Moore runs the club now. And my wife does a lot of like all the administrative and business side of it. And Colin's the head coach. And then Sal Marandino, who was with us at the beginning, he still helps out, and another RTC guy, Morgan Smith, is there pretty much every day. So, and it's nice right now. We're able to use the Ohio State facility, so they got to rent that out, so it's good. It's the kids are doing well. It was a weird year. It would have been nice to get. I always thought maybe 3-4 years, and then move on to the college coaching, and so we had really one good year, and then we had the COVID year, which was obviously a tough year, and then last year was 2021 was we got pretty good, but it's still with restrictions and stuff like that. But they're doing good. The kids are working hard. We got some young studs in there, and a lot of our high school kids had good success last year. So kids are doing well, and in the spring and summer, I'm able to come in and do camps and make more appearances. Right now, it's all Colin, so he's doing a good job.
So who do you think it's easier to get through to, the second-year wrestler or the second-year All-American? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the second-year All-American, unless they're just a jerk. but like we don't have any of those on our team, so it's pretty easy. If I'm talking to Ethan Smith, he listens, and you get to an age where hopefully he's able to listen and believe what I'm saying, and if I'm saying nonsense, he can listen to the good and push the nonsense out. That's what I always thought I was pretty good at. A lot of people trying to tell me stuff, and sometimes even like my dad trying to tell me stuff, and sometimes it was it was good, and sometimes I was like, okay, well, I know I need to go hard. I know that.
Right.
So yeah, I think probably easier for the older guy.
Yeah.
But the young guys, you can change. Like, you can change the match.
The amount of change that can happen in a short period of time is astronomical.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure. I always feel like that too when I with my high school kids. I get kids from even from late grade school, junior high, high school. The kids that come to me that are already strong, that are already good, I can make good changes to them. I can take them from being, say it's a high school kid that deadlifts 315. Maybe the next year he's deadlifting 455. Now he's stronger than college kids. That's still a big difference.
Yeah.
But you bring me a kid that has never deadlifted before and they can't even do 135, And then a year later, they're deadlifting 315. And they went from like can't even do chin-ups to now they're doing weighted chin-ups and all these things. I mean, the amount of change that can happen in a kid like that goes from, JV to maybe now they're sniffing possibly being, a state qualifier.
Yeah.
It's amazing the amount of change that can happen even in a short period of time. And I've seen it with some of my kids in here. And it's been, I mean, obviously it's exciting to work with the high profile kids and the kids that are already good.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, some of the biggest success stories I've had were some of these kids that I've taken from, maybe they have a losing record one year to next year they go 2-2 at districts or whatever it is, and or they're sectional champ the next year, and they go 28-10 or whatever. It's a huge difference in their confidence, just the way they carry themselves, and they go from like feeling like they're not very good to like, wow, I'm strong, I'm fit, and they feel like a wrestler.
Yeah. No, that's definitely. I mean, that's why I think coaching is I enjoy coaching way more than competing, because you can directly impact people and really make a difference. And so, yeah, it's cool.
Sorry to pause for a drink of my coffee here. This is our new Max Effort Muscle Caffeine and Kilos coffee.
There we go.
Yeah, so Caffeine and Kilos, they're a company out of California. They're real big in the CrossFit space, but they've been doing coffee for a long time. Nice. So we kind of teamed up for them for this little collab, The problem is sometimes when I drink it, during the podcast,
you get a little jitters. Because
you start drinking it too fast because you're thirsty.
Yeah.
So changing gears again, I was thinking about you the other day. We have another podcast we do called the Coaches Clinic, where we have different coaches on and we just talk about different things like kind of coaching related. And I think it was our guest, D'Angelo Smith. He's a buddy of mine. We live together, but he's a cornerbacks coach down at OU.
Okay.
And I think he asked us some questions towards the end. And one of the questions he asked was like, what has been the biggest thing you've learned about your coaching style over the years? Or it was something along those lines. And what I talked about was, I've been training elite wrestlers now for well over a decade. And I think one of the biggest differences between me, now and then, and even looking back to like when I, trained you when you first came to Ohio State and the whole time you were there, is I think early on as a coach, I would think like, all right, my workout's the most important thing. And I'd be so focused on, what I want them to do, or I'm going to try to bury these guys today. And it kind of took a long time to realize what I'm doing with them is like a compliment to everything else, or it needs to complement it, or else it's worthless.
Right.
And, and the example I gave was like, if I put some guy through the hardest workout ever this morning, maybe that might help their conditioning in the long term, but in the short term, it's going to ruin them for practice tonight, or it might ruin them for the dual meet 2 days from now or whatever. And as I was giving these answers, kind of talking through it, I was thinking of different examples in my head of where I've done something like that. And I thought of you the first time I ever worked out with you. And I don't know if you'll probably remember the story once I start telling it, but this would have been, maybe my first year at the RTC. And, so 2012, 2013, right around then. And at that time, I'm only working with like, Humphrey, Escobedo, and those guys. And you were, I don't think it was your redshirt year. Maybe it was your freshman year. It's hard to remember. They all start kind of run together. But I was like chomping at the bit to train you and Hunter, And I'd always tell Lou, like, let me put Logan through a workout. Let me put Logan through a workout. And I think I just kind of wore him down. And then finally one day he was like, yeah, you want to put him through? Put him through. And so I put together this crazy like circuit in my head. Like I had you guys doing farmers carries and all these different crazy things together. And it was one of those workouts. It was really hard. It was like a CrossFit type thing. But within the scheme of your training plan that week, it didn't make any sense. You had to cut weight, all this stuff. And I remember I put you through this workout, and then like either during the workout or later that day at practice, you like tweaked your hamstring. And it was because I had fatigued you at this workout.
Yeah, I remember that. That was my sophomore year, my second year at 33. I remember that, yeah.
Well, I just remember thinking right then, like, all right, I'm going to get fired. I just hurt Logan.
Yeah, I mean, things happen, right?
Yep.
I think you're exactly right. You were putting together an awesome workout, and I probably didn't need as much because of the dehydration, the weight cut, the training I was doing. It was like, oh, maybe, there was a little bit too much where tweak my hamstring Well,
I think it's one of those things where on paper, this is a good workout, but in the context of what you were doing that week, what you need that week, it was a terrible workout. So I think as a coach, as a strength coach, it took me a long time to realize that. Like, just because something is good on paper, it's not good for the individual. It's not good for what the individual needs now. Okay, hey, maybe if I want to have Logan do this in August when they don't have anything, then hey, let's push him to the brink on this like stupid circuit or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you had to compete that week and make weight, it made no sense at all. So I don't think the light came on for me right then, but that was one of the little things that as time went on, they started to add up, and I started to realize, okay, I need to like take my ego out of this strength training thing and realize I have to do what's best for Colin Moore right now within this cycle of his training to make sure that we have the best product possible for the U.S. Open in April, or if he competes before then overseas or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think, hopefully that's something other strength coaches that listen to this will realize. And I think probably as a wrestling coach, I mean, you're probably to the point where you already understand all that. But
yeah, I mean, it's still learning though, because we put together practice plans, and you can tell sometimes by the energy of the room where, sometimes if they don't have good energy, and it's a hard practice, we're like, you know what, they need their butts kicked. But sometimes it's okay. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to do a little bit less, or we're going to say, okay, let them know, hey, today you're going to go light. Tomorrow, be ready to go.
Do you think there's some guys in the room that are kind of like a gauge? Like maybe some guys will take their foot off the gas any chance they can get, but some guys maybe you look at and you're like, you know what, if this guy's struggling today, maybe we need to back off and the team needs something lighter today.
Yeah, for sure.
Who are those guys for you? Who's like the canary in the coal mine?
I mean, Sammy and Ethan. I mean, those guys. I would say they bring it every single day. So
and they'll do whatever's asked.
Yeah. So those guys are. I mean, in our whole team. These guys they're all working hard. But Sammy and Ethan are, every day. I mean, Ethan will lose 8 pounds of practice. Sammy will be able, barely be able to walk because he tries so hard. So we can tell. If those guys are, lagging a little bit, or if they would ever come to us, it's like, well, we trust them.
Yeah.
They've been there for a while. I mean, Sammy's 4th year, I think Ethan's 5th year now. So it's like, if they say, hey, we're hurting a little bit, we trust them because they've built that trust. Someone who's a younger freshman comes in, it's like, we're not going to disregard that, but we'll probably go get a second opinion. Like, and they could be right?
Yeah.
Some guy comes in like, listen, I'm hurting, then it's like, okay, well, thanks for bringing that to our attention. We'll talk to some of the leaders here and say like, okay, what can we? How are we feeling?
Well, and some of those younger guys, they may just not like. Yeah, they probably are hurting, but they're not used to the intensity of the room and maybe the consistent intensity of a room like that.
For sure. And you build up to it. And it's something I always try to tell the guys, because a lot of things I think in what you're doing, the tough stuff, you get used to it. Whether it's your 12-hour work days or whatever it is, like you get used to some hard things, but it's hard to really get used to taking yourself to that farthest spot and working extremely hard every day. It's hard to get used to it. You get used to the pain, but it's hard to get used to it. So it's like, listen, it's not gonna get easier. Like you get tougher. You're able to withstand it, but it doesn't get easier. Like
no.
The hard practice doesn't get easier. If it is getting easier, then there's probably not people pushing you.
Yeah, I always say, and once again, that's some gut check wisdom right there again. I always say if it's getting easier, that means you're not trying as hard because you're getting stronger, you're getting in better shape. I'm usually talking about within the context of what we do in here versus the wrestling room, but it's the same thing. As you get in shape, it should be just as hard, if not harder, because you're gonna keep pushing or keep challenging yourself. So I guess kind of the same thing is there. Maybe you're going with maybe practice is getting easier because you're going with easier partners.
Yeah.
And you're not really like laying it all on the line. It shouldn't get easier as you get better. It should get harder.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's hard for people to accept. I think they think, okay, if I put in all this work on the front end, then I can just kind of coast. Mm-hmm. But it's not like that really in anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, wrestling is definitely wrestling. It's a constant push and learning, the ebbs and flows of how many days you have to really, really push and more. Some days can be more focused and whatnot, but it's definitely interesting.
All right, so you were on the team with some legendary, not just wrestlers, but like when I think about it from my standpoint, the work ethic of the guys, the nucleus of the guys you were surrounded with. You, Nato, Bo, Snyder, your brother. The work ethic that I seen from you guys was just tremendous. Who would you say? You already talked about Sammy and Ethan, obviously, but who's someone else maybe that you've seen either it's on the team now or just maybe even someone from a different college, whatever, that you think like this is someone that like their work ethic is just incredible?
It's a good question. I think when I was in school, Nate and Kyle, they worked very hard, and they did a great job of doing what was asked of them, and pushing, and an everyday push, and I think they did a good job, and it's if you watch them, if you watch people who train with me, it's just hard to do for a long time. So I had plenty of guys train for a year, with me and do what I was doing for a year, but it wasn't like every year they did it with me, all the extra stuff and all the and it helped me. I think I was a good wrestler, so without that training, I think I would have still been a good wrestler, but to get to the next level, it's like Jay would be like, okay, we got to do this. Lou would say we got to do this, in the mornings twice a week, and I was like, okay, cool, and would have one guy maybe go for a few months, that season and do it with me, and then the next year they didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah. And
Well, because you have to kind of operate like a professional to train at that level and to have that type of level of success. And that's why I always say when I talk about you or Nate or Kyle or any of the guys from that team, I see the guys that were not just good, but that were elite, they were professionals.
Yeah.
They didn't just leave things up to chance and go and like, oh yeah, I'm going to practice hard today. And like, it was number one, you trust your coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You do everything you're supposed to. You do the extra things. You make sure you get enough sleep at night. You're focused on your nutrition. There's nothing really left, to chance throughout the day or even throughout the training week. Everything is dialed in, not just, okay, I'm going to go to a hard practice a couple days a week or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good plan. And like I said, it's not like a automatic where you, like obviously when I came into school, I'm like, oh yeah, like these are my guys, these are my coaches. But there's like definitely a switch, where it's like, okay, now I'm going to shut up and listen. And like really, like not just shut up because like I wasn't like I didn't talk back, or I didn't talk that much, but like shut off my brain to all these other ideas that I think is better. Because I'm like, how do I know what's better? Jay, 2-time national champion, Lou trained all these Olympians. Like, of course they know better than me.
But anyone's instinct is going to be to think that they know the answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's, it would be a lie to say, oh, you just come in and you just fully believe in them. And it's like, of course you're going to believe, but then, you need to you have to almost like consciously like tell yourself like, okay, like what they say I'm going to do, and it's worked for them. And I think it's going to work for me. That's why I came here.
Right.
And let's do it.
I think that's some great advice for any elite athletes out there that listen. Trust your coaches. And if you can't turn that voice off in your head and say, okay, you know what, I think I know, but I don't know, I'm going to trust the coaches, then you need to find different coaches. You might not be in the right spot for you. Or you just need to really kind of examine the way that you think and go about things. I think you need to be able to have that talk with yourself and say, okay, just because I think I know doesn't necessarily mean I know. Let's try what they're going to do. Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, it's kind of interesting. I already brought up D'Angelo, who was on our coaching podcast the other week. But he talked, obviously, different sport or whatever, but, coaching's coaching. But he talked about with his, corners and safeties and stuff. He said whenever they bring an idea to him, he always will tell them, yeah, let's try it. Do it your way. But if it doesn't work, if you get burned out there, then we're going back to my way. So he'll always let them kind of give them free reign. And then hopefully it works, great. But if not, he said, then we're not listening to your ideas anymore. So I thought that was kind of interesting because, I mean, I definitely take, feedback from my elite guys. Like say when Colin walks in, the first thing I always ask him is, how are you feeling? What's the practice plan this week? What days are you wrestling live? Those type of things. I take everything into account and base everything around what he needs for the week. My younger guys, when they come in, I basically tell them like, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think, for the most part, if any of my younger guys come in and they said, I don't want to pull sumo, I want to do conventional, I would say, well, no, you're going to deadlift sumo, and here's why. You know what I mean? But obviously, my older guys, I give them a lot more leeway and base a lot of things on how they feel.
Yeah.
So, do you ever find yourself as a coach? I mean, where if they come to you and say, "Hey, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way," where you kind of say, "Okay, Let's try it.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I tell our R2C guys, like, listen, you guys are adults here. So I trust that you're here because you want to, like, be the best. Like, they're all getting paid, but they're not getting paid that much where they can just coast and you know, because if they just don't do well or don't come to practice, it'll be a game over. So it's like I trust them if they come and say, hey, I'm not feeling well today. I'm gonna go light. I'm gonna go on the bike. Or hey, I'm not gonna come in today. I'll be in the morning. I feel like crap. I'm like, all good, no problem.
But contrast that with a redshirt freshman.
Yeah. So you know, with the training stuff, you know, obviously if you're not feeling good, then you're not feeling good. But the training stuff, we're like, hey, let's push through it. Any like sort of like technical stuff, you know, we're like, hey, try it, because it might work for you. I don't know, it might not work for me, but I'm not gonna. If it works for you and it's not just super horrible, someone's hitting a headlock all the time or something where they're just out of position, it's different. But if they, I
love headlocks, by the way. But anyway, go ahead.
If they do a different finish or a different technique than what we do, I'm not gonna stop you from doing something that works well. Now, if we keep doing it and it doesn't work well, then we gotta fix it. But I'm all for new ideas. I'm all, you know, very probably similar to your guy there. You know, I'm all for new ideas, and I can usually tell, like, if it's just something that's like this so crazy where I'm like, listen, that's not gonna work, or I'm like, that's kind of interesting actually. I hadn't really seen it that way. Let's try it out. Let's see how it works, because I don't know everything about everything, you know. So I think that people have good ideas, and you know, if a lot of stuff that I did, other people didn't do. So if the coach was like, oh, well, let's not do the arm bar. People just tilt in college. Like, we don't see that many arm bars. I would have been like, that's crazy. You know, so.
They said, like, we don't really like this claw. You stop doing it.
Right,
know?
Exactly. So, you know, I think some of these guys, they're 2, 3, 4 time state champions. They've had a lot of success. So let's see how it works. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But I'm not going to tell you no right away. You know, these guys were pretty good already, because that's why we recruited them.
I remember Lou saying something to me one time. We were talking about something along these same lines. And he said, you know, not talking about me, but he was talking about whatever athlete it was, whatever kid that was on the team. And I can't remember who it was. If it was, I would drop their name, but I can't remember. But he said, yeah, when you did that, it worked. But you did it against 100 kids, and 99 of them aren't wrestling anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they worked against all these maybe they were good kids in high school, but they're not wrestling any longer. So, like, kind of what you did and worked against them is irrelevant. You're wrestling guys now, they're the best of the best.
Right, for sure. I mean, most people that you wrestle in high school don't wrestle anymore. You
right.
know, it is what it is, right? So it's like, you know, and we'll give them a chance. Like, listen, it still might be good. Like, the move still might work. I don't know, but it's got to be all right. We'll try, and if it doesn't work, then we'll stick to the stuff that we like to do.
All right, so. We talked just a little bit about strength training. We talked about, you know, how I hurt your hamstring, which I brought that up because it was a good teaching point. But we had lots of great workouts too. You know, we don't need to talk about all those. But since this is the Wrestling Strength Show, I do like to ask just a couple questions about strength training.
Yep.
And I think these are really good ones for you. All right. So I ask the same ones to everyone that comes on. The first one is, what do you think is one thing? It can be an exercise, it can be a workout, it can be a running workout, it can be anything that you did strength conditioning wise, whether in college, growing up as a youth, whatever, that you felt like really helped and impacted your wrestling.
Running hard.
I love that answer, because there's so many coaches and wrestlers that hate running and think that you don't need to run. But tell us why running.
Well, I think running for a long period of time builds up a good base.
Yes.
Right? And anytime I'm running a lot, then my conditioning is really good for wrestling. I could be running all the time and not wrestling, and I know right now my wrestling will be better because I'm in better shape. In running hard, because it's very stressful, and every time I ran, I would get nervous in the morning. We did sprints and stuff. I'd get so nervous.
My stomach hurts right now. It's just talking about running hard.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah, you get that stomach feeling, and it just wrestling can be easy sometimes. If I'm just better than you, I don't have to always push myself. So running, it's like you're running against a clock. If I do a 459 seconds, then now my coach is telling me you got to go 58 seconds, and then I do 58. It's like, hey, let's go faster. So it's like, Jesus. I mean, it's just it's never. So you're always trying to beat your time, or there's somebody else there running next to you trying to beat. So it really makes you push yourself. a deep level where it's hard. I mean, I've been extremely tired wrestling multiple times, where I'm just like hurting, and the only thing that could be at that level or even a little bit more is doing a medium distance long,
like a 1 mile, 2 mile max effort run.
Yeah, it's scary. It's tough.
Yeah, I think there's a place that you can take yourself on a hard run, especially one like that, like a hard, whether it's 10 minutes, 12 minutes, whatever, that is, you can't really go to the same place on the bike or the airdyne. And trust me, I mean, I airdyne until I'm on the floor and can't even move.
Yeah.
But it's not the same feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because, the bike does some of the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's some of the movement is done with the bike, whereas with the running, you have to propel yourself through the atmosphere. You're here running through, you have wind against you. Every step is force. You're forcing yourself to take it. And I think, especially when you run a hard run like that, where it's uncomfortable from the first minute all the way through the 12th minute, I mean, you find out a lot about yourself and how hard you're able to push.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love running. I think it should be a huge part of any wrestler's training program. The key is you have to do it. You have to be strategic about it. You have to have the right runs program. You can't just go out and say, I'm going to run a hard 2 miles every day, because that's going to break you down and all these other things. Right. So I'm glad that you said running, because so many people are anti-running, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Running is good.
Running is good. So now let's flip that. All right. Now this can be something that you did, or it can just be something you see maybe from your parents, or maybe you see high school coaches doing, or whatever. What do you think there's one thing that wrestling coaches / parents need to quit doing with their kids and athletes right now? Like, just full stop doing it.
That's a good question. The one thing that...
Now, a lot of the people that have answered this that have come on, they've talked more about the mental side of, like, hey, quit talking, quit yelling at the kid right after he loses, or quit talking in the car on the way home, just let it rest for a day or so. We've had a lot more mental answers in that. But I'm always interested in what is an exercise you feel like, maybe even one that you did before, that, like, that is not helpful, whether it's burpees or whatever, like, quit doing that.
Oh, okay. I was a little bit confused at first by the question, but that is a good question. I think exercises. I don't know if I know. I don't know if I can think of it an exercise, but I think one thing that the parents and coaches can do is they can stop making it personal. Stop making it. If I have a son who's 9 years old, 10 years old, and my son beats your son, Jack, in a wrestling match or a football game, and it doesn't mean that I'm better than you. It doesn't mean that I'm a better coach than you. It doesn't mean that I am stronger than you. It doesn't even
necessarily mean my son's better than your son, or vice versa.
Yeah. So I think when you start, I think a lot of young dads, things are very personal, and I understand that, I'm working, 10 hours. My dad worked construction for a while. He's all over the state working construction, and drive us to practice. And, and he was up at 4 a.m. and we're coming home from practice at 8:30, 9 p.m. And it's a long day. And if I don't give my best effort, or if I don't do well, I understand why he's not in a good mood, because he's not in a good mood anyways. Because of the long day. But
do you think at a young age you were even cognizant of the sacrifices they were making, or was it just
no, not at all?
Because I was gonna say, if you did, that was some pretty good awareness.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. That stuff you just realize later. So I think taking the personal side of it out of it, and really just trying to do it with the kid, and there's gonna be tough times. I'm not saying, like, don't be tough on the kid, like, be tough, but take that the personal side of it, the me versus your opponent's parent, and just try to, if you're making these sacrifices for the kid, it's got to be like unconditional. And
you got to remember, like, you're, for the most part, you're choosing to make the sacrifice for the kid. The kid's not asking you to sacrifice all these things.
Yeah.
That's great that you're doing it, but you're doing it for them, not the other way.
Yeah.
They're not making you do it.
Yeah, this is me saying this without any kids. So
let's revisit this in like 7 or 8 years.
Exactly. I'm not making any sacrifices for kids right now. So it could be different. That's just kind of what I see and what I saw growing up, and what I see now, and there's a lot of good wrestling right now, and good clubs, good wrestling in Ohio, Central Ohio area. So the wrestling's gotten better, and the clubs are good.
Yeah, I agree, man. We got, you got Stieber Elite, you got, Palmer's, there's just so many high-level coaches. Obviously, Moran's been around forever. You got the Sabato, somewhere down there. You got so many high-level coaches right here in Central Ohio. I think you guys are doing a great job really raising the bar for Central Ohio wrestling. And it's going to be interesting to see, what's, some of these kids that have come through Stieber Elite, once they get to high school, the Trip Farrington and Jet Jaggers and these kids, once they're older, to really see, if you guys have had a hand in putting Central Ohio on the map. And I think it is going to happen. So good job with that, Logan.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the guys are doing good, and they're working hard. So it's fun.
All right, man. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm sure anyone who's watching is already familiar with you, and they probably already follow you. But for anyone that's not, go ahead and let them know where they can find you at and all that stuff.
I think Twitter, which I pretty much never tweet, is Logie Bear. I think maybe _ Logie Bear _ Instagram. My wife was not happy that I changed my Instagram handle, but I changed it to _ Logan Stieber.
What was it before?
Logie
Bear. It was Logie Bear.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really post too much, but I do see. I talked about this earlier off the camera, but I see on the Max Effort site and on her site, music star Morgan Wade.
Yeah.
So
you're a fan of Morgan.
Big fan. Yeah.
Big fan.
Me and Jay been on a big Americana kick.
Mm-hmm.
With we went to some concerts. Zach Bryan, Charles Wesley Godwin, our boy from right on the border here on off 70, Luke Burkhart, wrestled at Ohio State. This guy from Cincinnati, Nolan Taylor, he's a beast. So we've been on it, and her music is right up on it. So she's always wearing the Max Effort old school stuff.
She's always repping for us. We're big fans of her. She's a big fan of us. Now she was just in Columbus recently at Scully's, maybe in November. Now Corey got to go to the show. I had something going on. That might have even been the weekend we were moving to our new house or whatever, but we didn't get to go. So Morgan, sorry I missed the show, but Corey said it was amazing. I know that Jay had messaged me. He sent me a picture. She had like an old school shirt on or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now maybe Jaggers will accept that I'm cool because Morgan likes old school. But yeah, she's a big supporter of us, man. We love her music, and I think next time she comes to Columbus, we need to have kind of like a Max Effort OSU Wrestling RTC. We need to go as a group, check her show out.
Well, yeah, that'd be we'll definitely go. We'll and she's always welcome to come to Ohio State and get a workout in. And
Morgan, open invitation. You come in. We'll bring you out here to the HQ. We'll get a workout in at Old School. We'll take you down to the OSU wrestling facility. And get to chop it up with the guys a little bit.
Yeah, so it's awesome music, and it's cool that she's be supportive of you guys. 'Cause like I said, we've known each other for a while. So.
Yeah. I don't know what her original introduction. I think she was a Corey G fan first. I think Corey was kind of an introduction. I don't know whether she was a member of his site or what it was, but she's kind of been been familiar with Corey for a long time, so that's kind of how she came into the Max Effort world. Now she loves Old School, loves Max, all that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see as we've been around for a long time, to start to see things that people that we're fans of or different worlds that we're a part of or want to be a part of, where they're kind of drawn into what we're doing. I got some rock reggae bands that I've been fans of for a long time, Slightly Stupid and Pepper, and these guys are big time rock stars in their space, and kind of like that sublime alternative type world. And these are guys now, they're they follow some of my workouts, they bring, I go out to their shows, I get backstage passes, hang out with them and stuff, and it's just kind of cool. It's one of those things where you start to realize I've always looked at these guys in one way, but they're fans of what we do in a different way too,
Yeah,
so it's
cool.
kind of cool to make those connections.
We went to this concert in November, Shane Smith and the Saints, and those you guys that like Yellowstone, their music's been on Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are awesome, and real small concert, but the day before, I hit them up hey, I saw they were working out in a hotel, random hotel. I was like, hey, you guys want a real gym? Let me know. We have a big gym that you can work out and lift and run. And they were awesome. They came over. They got to work out.
Oh, their concert was in Columbus.
It was
here.
in Columbus.
Yeah.
So they worked out. They just did some cardio, some lifting things with us at Jennings, and then we went to their concert. It was an awesome concert. It was a real small venue. It was it was real cool. Similar type of music. and just awesome guys. So it's pretty cool. Like get to meet these guys. These who like they're superstars. And they're really superstars to us. So
but then you meet them and they're probably Ohio State wrestling fans.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's kind of
they
you get
cool.
to see the other side of it.
They didn't really know too much about wrestling, but they were, they just were cool people, and we got on some shirts and stuff, and yeah, it was fun.
So I'll tell you one quick story, and then we'll sign off on that. So my guy's, Slightly Stupid. Miles, the singer, founder of the band, he's actually an ex-wrestling coach. He grew up in a big wrestling family in Southern California. And up until maybe, 5, 6, 7 years ago, he would still, when he'd come home from tour in the winter, he would go coach wrestling with his brother, who was then the head coach at where his dad used to be the head coach at. So he's an Ohio State wrestling fan. And this guy's a rock star, but he's been a fan of what I do. So anyway, long story short, we go out to Red Rocks this year to see him. And the first time I had Nick Lancey, one of my former wrestlers, who's now a Marine stationed in Hawaii. And this guy's an absolute savage. He flies in to meet me. First day we drive down to the Springs to do the incline and come back up, and we do a bunch of hikes and stuff, and it's a 2-day concert. In the last day, and we hung out with the band a little bit and stuff, but they got tons of friends and family and stuff there, so we're not really hanging out with them. We're just kind of around, hanging backstage or whatever. But anyway, so the last day, we're like, man, we got to go run the steps at Red Rocks. That's what everyone does there, right? So it's Sunday. We get there to Red Rocks, and the concert's not starting until like 5 or 6 that night. We get there at like 10 or 11 in the morning, and security got it locked down. They're like, no, we're not letting anyone in because of the concert tonight. I'm like, damn. So I text Miles. I'm like, hey, man, you think you can work some magic for me? Me and my buddy really want to get in and run these steps. It's like a bucket list thing for us. He said, hey, man, we're getting ready to pull up for a sound check. He's like, meet me over at the bus lot. So he brings us in, through the artist entrance or whatever, and gets us our pass or whatever, so we can basically essentially at that time just move with the band. And now no one else is allowed in. Normally you go to Red Rocks to work out and there's hundreds of people in there doing yoga and run the steps or whatever. The band did sound check for 2 hours, basically just rehearsed while me and Nick ran the steps. Yeah, so we had like a private concert the day of the concert while we're working out. It was incredible.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we actually were talking about stuff like that, and he told me a story from years before that. They were in like Philadelphia or somewhere for like a festival, and security caught these 3 teenagers. They had dug a hole under the fence to sneak into the concert. Wow. Security caught them. They caught wind of it. They went back and talked to the kids here. They were like 3 16-year-old wrestlers that were big fans. They were like, dude, you guys put forth so much effort. They're like, you guys get backstage passes.
Yeah.
And they're like, now, however long it's been, 5 years, 10 years, every time they go to Philly, they hook them up with passes and stuff. They're like, there's no way we could let these wrestlers like not come to every one of our shows now, because they took the effort to dig a hole under the fence to sneak in.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool, man.
All right, we already laid down where they can find you at. Anything else before we close off here, Logan?
No, man, thanks for having me. You guys are doing an awesome job out here. So it's just cool. Glad I was able to come out here and, catch Kyle working out too, making sure he's working hard.
Oh, he's always working hard. That's never a question. So want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. I know you got to get back to campus. And also, too, want to thank you for the, friendship over all the years. And hopefully we'll get Jack back into the mix wrestling. Maybe he'll be in, Stieber Elite in the next couple of years or so.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's
all
cool.
right. Thanks, Logan.
Yep.